Hello.
Hi.
We're back. And I'm not alone. I really like not being alone in these, by the way. Like, you've seen my ones where I'm alone. I like it when I'm, like, with people. This is, like...
It brings a different perspective and different insight.
Yes, and different energy. Not that my energy's not bad, right? Right, JP?
It's
JP.
not.
Okay, so this is JP, You're our third coffee chat guest.
No, wait, only third?
Only third, dude.
And you've been so successful already. Like, it's crazy to think that you just started.
I just started. It's just getting started. And I'm so excited for JP to keep this going because we're going to talk about something that is inspiring, but also it feels, I can feel your present energy. And I'm like, because we talk a lot about like where you want to be, where you want to get. And it's like, you already are there. And it's like, okay, how did he get there? Like, what is that all about? So today we're going to talk about the power of your story. The power of your story. And I'm
Absolutely.
like, and people are probably going to be like, what do you mean? Like, how did you get to this point of like, why is that important? And we're going to start with this. He doesn't know I'm going to start with this. This is what I love about it. They don't know what I'm going to say. But when I talked to JP the other day, I was like, how are you? You know, when you ask people like, how are you doing? And he literally was like, I am doing so good. I mean, like, and you could, and he meant it. Like, you could feel it through the phone. He's just like, you feel really centered. You feel like you're just happy, and you're present, and you're thriving. I felt that energy, and I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? And you're like, no, it's because I'm actually like doing the work. And I was like, you're doing the work. So
what does that mean, right?
What does that mean? And then he's like, well, and then we ended up being like, well, it's the power of your story. So JP, we start there.
Absolutely. And you know what too? Like oftentimes, like even just thinking about like the power of your story can be super, super simple to many folks, right? It's like, why do we even need to have that?
Yes.
Right? But it's like just starting at that foundation, it's the power of our identity, right? And we're going to break this down.
We're going to
break
it down.
A lot to take in, right?
You want to take a
sip?
sip?
And it looks so different to everybody.
Let's take a sip.
But let me take a sip from Selena, because anything for Selena.
Anything for Selena's. We had to. We're diverging with the cups now. We're taking out the Pride cup and we're bringing in Selena. Viva la mujer.
Exactly, yes. But, you know, let's talk about what that looks like and how we get to a point where we can really find the power in our story, right? And I think for me, you know, just gonna backtrack a little bit in my life, right? And it was like later in my teen years where, you know, depression is a real thing that affects a lot of folks, right? A lot of us, and it looks super different to everybody.
Yes.
And so for me, I remember being at a time where, you know, I started to feel depression, and it was like directly related to like a lot of loss at the time, right? Living in poverty, living in a high density area of the city where it was like, you know, our socioeconomic status was already kind of low. Yeah. And so even at a young age, you know, we were already able to kind of
feel it.
You
felt like, wait, this is different.
It takes on like an active role in your life, right? Where that's where we get that sense of, okay, we're surviving, right? And even at a young age, you're kind of like, I'm starting to sense it, but I don't know what this means.
Okay.
And so I think, you know, because of that and just given, you know, how we were growing up and where we were growing up, it almost felt like our future was already kind of determined for us, right? Like we were able to see the cap and that ceiling of our potential. And so it was hard because you don't have those resources to kind of get out of that, right? And so it was like realizing that upbringing really provided me the structure for where I am today. Like in the sense of like, I remember even through those teen years, like being able to more often get out of your comfort zone. And that's something that I really want to break down today because it's important, right? And we're going to talk about this idea to seek that discomfort, right?
Okay, seek that discomfort.
Yes.
Okay, so let's paint it. You're 16. Let's just say you're 16.
Absolutely.
And you're like, I don't know what I think the world, the universe is telling me that my future is going to be like this, and you're not jazzed about it. You're like, this is limiting, and you're like, I need to. What made you, like, those are the moments where I'm like, what made you seek that comfort? Like, what was it where knowing that what you had, like, what was the spark that made you think, no, I'm going to do something different? Like, what was...
Absolutely. And that's huge. That is so huge. And I think, like, honestly, looking back at the experience, I think one of the big first moments that I recognized where I was able to really, like, dive into that discomfort was like even little things, right? And the little things, and it was
I like the little things.
when we go to when you go to high school, for example, right? You kind of go like in a designated area.
Oh
like
my
you went to
God.
this middle school, and you had to go to that high school.
Yes.
And so I remember like my first discomfort was there, and it was in that
Really?
situation where I didn't go to the high school where I was supposed to.
Oh,
I went
okay.
into a whole different area, into a
Okay.
whole new high school. And I can remember like maybe like with one hand the amount of people that transferred in with no
Okay.
connection or previous like
Wow.
knowledge of the campus.
Oh, wow.
But I remember I went in for band. Like I
Oh.
am such a band geek.
I can totally see that.
Selena.
The singing, I mean, it makes sense. Wait,
Right?
what did you play?
I played baritone. It's kind of like a little horn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I did like bass trombone and jazz
Okay,
band
okay,
and
okay.
mariachi.
Okay,
So
mariachi,
I was
of course.
a total band geek. But I think what was important to say about that, and the reason I bring that up is
Yeah.
because through that high school experience, you're able to join the different clubs and the different groups. And then that's when I kind of realized that, like, there's space for everyone. And we start to notice those things. And so this is where I really got to experience meeting different types of folks. But one thing, like, was super clear throughout the thing, throughout these intentional spaces was that I was able to connect with folks. Like, and we were connecting at a point where we were recognizing our struggles and then identifying through them. And so, I often say that, like, a lot of my successes are rooted in my failures. And
Do
the
say that again.
depression.
This is the moment. Say that again. A lot
My
of yours.
success is rooted in my failures. And my happiness derived from the journey of getting from that point of feeling the failure to now becoming, now feeling this, where I am today.
But even just hearing that is like, you have obviously this perspective and maturity to recognize that. And so what you're hearing right now is somebody who's done the work for you to acknowledge that and to see that and to push forward knowing that you've had those failures and really be like, this is good. This was good for me.
Absolutely.
So I'm just like, okay, so let's keep going because I'm just like, because we got to figure out how did you get here?
Right. And I completely understand that, a lot of us aren't at that point
No.
or we're not reaching that point or we don't know how to reach that point. And I think, it was really important for me to recognize that, number one, like meeting those folks that, we were able to identify through our struggles. Number one, I wasn't alone. And I think that was like the biggest piece of comfort in the beginning was realizing that, hey, we're not just the only person going through this experience, right? Or a form of it.
Yes.
And I think, during this time, my identities were still kind of like separated, like being gay and also being an immigrant, like they still weren't intersecting.
They weren't intersect. So this is a very interesting, and I know it's a very niche topic, but I think everyone can attest to like having different kind of identities and how do you merge them? How do you make them come together? Because you are all of that, right? So, but being specifically Mexican and an immigrant and being gay, so much fun. I mean,
So
sarcastic.
much
I think things are changing, obviously, but yeah, how I'm curious, like, how did you, I'm gonna guess, because this is what I did, but as a teenager, I also kind of like, I didn't want to face what that would look like because there was no place for it, as far as I knew.
Absolutely.
So for me, it was like purely denial that was keeping them apart. How was it for you?
Like that sense of belonging, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think for me, it was very much the same. And I share that and I see that and I feel that because I think, growing up, even with our parents' knowledge that we're being kind of passed on, right? And this generational knowledge, if we think about what's happening in the community and things happening today, like this knowledge wasn't present back then, right? So although our knowledge of the community is already very limited, I didn't have a full understanding of what it meant to be LGBTQ or to be an immigrant LGBTQ at that, right? And so to me, like, just kind of, I always had issues kind of finding a connection between the two, and I always fought so hard to keep them divided because I thought they were two completely separate things. So now I'm at a point in my life where I realize that intersectionality, and that's part of the work, right? Where I was able to identify that and be able to see, okay, this is what I need. And this is what I can do to get to that point, right? To meet those needs.
Okay.
And so, oh my God, that was a big point. Like that kind of like...
feel settled, huh?
Yeah,
It's
it kind of like settled in a little bit.
Yeah. And I think those moments I think those moments are really special when we realize things. We're like, wait, that makes sense, or that is owning that part of who you are and stuff like that. So let's go back to the part where you're talking about being in uncomfortable situations. So you mentioned the uncomfortable situations. You talked about how important it is to be open to other people, because then you realize you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about, you mentioned really reflecting, really taking yourself inward.
Yes. Looking inside.
How did you, a lot of people, like, I'm telling you, like, I know this sounds like, it sounds silly, but it's not. This is like crucial. This idea of really looking inward and building that relationship with yourself. We work so hard on trying to work on relationships with other people, which is great.
Absolutely.
But we all, as much as we're paying attention to other people, we have to look inward and like, what does that look like? And how do you really start doing that? Because I'll tell you this, maybe you can bounce off of this. In my 20s, because you're in your 20s, so you're like already far beyond, like you're good, you're set, dude, if you keep doing what you're doing. But in my 20s, I would listen. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't listen to myself, but I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna do that. It's almost like I was just trying to find band-aids for myself, but I wasn't truly really looking deeper inward to be like, wait, why am I feeling this way? Why do I act this way? What is it that I really want, and can I really say that to myself?
Exactly.
So what have you been doing? And you're like, what have you been doing? So after high school, like your 20s, what have you been doing that you think have helped you?
That's an excellent question. And I also kind of want to backtrack a little bit, because that's a lot to kind of dissect as well, right? And I want to go back to you, because you mentioned, sometimes we would do things as band-aids, right? But, and as you kind of had in your conversation with Luis, you talked about happiness, right? And finding happiness in those moments, or...
He watches our interviews.
I do watch them.
He does watch them.
So make sure you
so
follow.
Go watch the Luis one.
Yeah, and so y'all talked about, this aspect of finding that happiness. So I can see how in those moments, our immediate guards and our self-defense and this place that, we may often come from fear because of our identity. We find things to band-aid because that's what brings us happiness in that moment. But it's like you said, when you really start to look inward and you reflect on those moments and realize, okay, it wasn't just this situation that brought me happiness, but it was something deeper, right? Like our intention was what really drove us to this point.
It's I have to tell you, like, when I hear you say that, it's almost like I can see myself, like, through what you're saying. In my 20s, I denied my homosexuality. I denied it. I pushed it in so many ways, and I put these band-aids that there was other things that were, and then affecting me. And then even through my early 30s, like, I was still kind of band-aiding in terms of like making my family feel comfortable. And it wasn't until this last year and a half where I was like, wait, no, like, I truly wholeheartedly took ownership of who I was.
Yes, unapologetically.
And unapologetically.
Like, yes.
And it was like liberating. And I think it goes to what you're saying, where it was like, you can't like deny who you are, whatever your identity, whatever it is that who you are, whatever part what makes you you. And it could even be something as like, it doesn't have to be necessarily your sexual orientation.
Absolutely.
It's just like any part of what makes you intrinsically you, like, if you can just like surrender and just be like, this is it, like, you'll realize that a lot of the band-aids were like,
yeah, absolutely. But that's a good point that you said. And that's also a point where you start to realize I was putting on those band-aids. So we start to recognize our own action of how we were trying to deal with the situation or the circumstances that we were provided with, right? And so kind of like going back to that topic, I definitely want to talk about that idea of like, oh my God, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second.
This happens.
It was just a lot of good information.
So with Riley, you don't see that. It happened to us like 3 times.
No way.
Yeah, but I cut it. Nobody sees it.
Thank you.
So we're going to cut this, so don't worry. It'll come back to you. I know it happens. You're like, oh.
No, yeah, it's because it was something really important that you talked about.
So
okay, I remember.
You do
remember. Yeah.
Okay, so.
And it was kind of like, when at what point do we realize to look inward, right? And what that looks like, what kind of work do we have to do? And I remember, and y'all have probably seen this movie as well, but there's a children's movie called Sing. I love this movie with like all the singing animals.
No surprise, singing.
I know, right? That's why.
Hey man, they have good music, those movies.
It's such a good movie. But you know what? As when we're kids, we don't often think about those themes. And if we do, they're very lighthearted, right? But as you get older and you begin to experience the world in your life, you really get to bring in that interpretation into what these themes are.
Yes.
And so there was one really big one in seeing that, one of the characters was like, when you hit rock bottom, like there's only one way to go. And that's up. Yes, exactly.
No hay más.
Exactly.
There's nowhere else to go. And I love that because it's sometimes the most simple what you may think is simple, it's like, it's I know this sounds really cheesy, but let's go with this cheese that we're doing. But it's like, I think it's that simple because it's like, I think the universe wants you to succeed. I think the universe wants you to move forward. And so there's these simple tools, and we're going to talk about these tools, simple tools to move us forward as humans in the human experience. And that's why people like, you know, may think, oh, for kids, but it's like, yeah, well, we want to thrive just like the kiddos do, you know? Like
Exactly.
we want to, you know, we're all humans. We all have that human connection, human experience. So yeah, I love that. So you see this movie and you're just like, what was happening?
Oh, honestly, at this point, like, this was a huge point where I felt like I was at my lowest.
And what does that feel like? Do you mind sharing, like, what that looks like?
Not at all. Like, I had just also came out to my family. We had definitely a big, you know, adverse story of how things went down. And my public coming out story is out there if y'all really want to look it up.
Okay,
but that opportunity was there.
Share it with me I'll put it on the link.
Let's do it.
Link.
Perfect. So check it out down
below.
Check
it out down there. It's coming out story. I don't think I've seen it.
No, not many people I've shared it with.
So you're okay with sharing it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But it was, again, the power of our story and realizing how much it can help people, right?
Okay,
but we'll kind of come back to that moment. Okay. And so when I watched this, thank you.
It's so good. I love that you're bringing it back. It comes back. It all comes back to that. Okay, love it.
It does. It's like full circle, right? And so I think when I watched that movie, what it meant to me to, you know, hit rock bottom and realize that there was only one way to go, you know, it means different things to many different people, right? And given like our different complexities and the different, you know, multi-dimensionality of who we are, I think, you know, we bring that experience and it interprets things for us in a different perspective as well, right? In a different light.
Yes.
And so for me, what that really looked like was, hey, take a step back. You know, number one, we were fortunate enough to wake up today, you know, and that's something that we don't often talk about. And this is a good point to kind of interject a little TikTok I saw too, but
let's do it. Let's do it. TikTok helps everyone. Let's go.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, and I'm very much a visual person, which is why this TikTok really helped a lot too, right?
Okay.
And it was like a student doing interviews out in the street, right? We kind of see that a lot more often now. And the question was, hey, if I offered you $10 million, would you take it? Like, would you, Jackie?
I mean,
if I was like, hey, Jackie, here's $10 million, would you take it?
I mean, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Right.
Most people would say yes.
Okay.
But what if I change that question to say, the catch is if I give you the $10 million, you cannot wake up tomorrow morning. Would you still take that money?
Obviously not.
No, right? No. And so what that means is, and what it's telling us and what they're really portraying is that, you know, that your life is worth more than $10 million. So waking up tomorrow morning gives us reason to smile. It already starts the day off with a purpose, right?
Say that again.
As you start the day, remember that just by waking up, we're already starting with purpose.
And people think, I love that because people think, oh, purpose has to be this like huge, giant thing. And it's like, no, like there's a reason we're all still here. There's a reason you're still here. There's a reason I'm still here. And it's like that, like take the moment to be like, holy moly, like we're still here. And like that
we woke up today. And I think it's a bigger realization now post-COVID as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think it really brings it to the heart. And so, you know, what does that look like though? What does that mean? And so for me, it really meant focusing on one task at a time, 1 hour at a time, one shift at a time, one day at a time, taking things slowly. And you know what though, like what I was able to see now in the long term is that in those moments of focusing on that 1 hour at a time, one shift at a time, I was able to find happiness in those moments, right? And it affected my overall mood and like my quality of life. Why? Because we really get to focus instead of, you know, overthinking about, oh my God, I have all of these things to do today. I don't have time. I have these meetings or whatever it might be, right? We are able to focus on that 1 hour at a time and find happiness within that hour because we're being intentional about the focus that we're giving to what's in front of us.
Yes.
So not only are you looking inward, you're being present, but now you're able to identify, you know, a couple of needs that you might have during that moment, right?
Yes.
And this is how we begin to do that work.
This is how we begin to do that work.
Yes.
And it's these small things that people don't realize, like, you have to step into your life. You have, like what Riley and I talked about, like the consciously making those efforts. And what you're talking about right now reminded me of something I did the other day. It's about, because I'm still doing the work, right? It's about changing those small moments that you're like, oh wow, I'm realizing, because I'm already I'm already in the process. But even in that way, I'm noticing moments where I'm like, wait, where is it that Where is it that I can slow down that will make things just a little bit better? And better, what does that look like for me? Better means being more calm, more at peace. So something that I notice I do is that I'm doing now, that I'm going to continue to start doing now is, people think that like you have to slow down when things are bad.
Absolutely.
But you also have to slow down when things are good. When you're like on a roll and you're like, oh my God, adrenaline. But it's like, okay, todo su tiempo. Because then it kind of keeps both. I know this is going to sound bizarre, but this is where these conversations go.
Absolutely.
But it's almost like by being like neutral and calm, like bringing it back down, like that sort of contentment, it kind of changes the game when you're thinking about something that's bad or what you think is bad. Because back to what you're saying, every failure actually is a success. It brings you a lesson.
Absolutely.
It kind of sets the playing field very neutral. So that means that like whether bad or good, it's like you come back to your centered place and you're like, it's all good.
So let's talk
about
about that.
Saying? Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Do you get what I'm saying? Okay.
Like you're able to really find a place of silence, right? A place for yourself, and it's a moment of reflection. This is a moment where you have that opportunity to not just look inward, but also look outward and be like, okay, well, this is who I am today.
Yeah.
This is what I want to get done this year, this month, right? And this is how I can achieve that.
Yes.
That's part of doing the work because you're able to identify your strategy of how you're going to do it, right? And even, I want to say, sometimes we often think about, even I remember being young and listening to, you have to put in half the work and, what we believe in and our higher being is going to put in the extra half, right?
Right.
And now that I'm older, I don't think about it that way. Mm-hmm. I kind of think about it like the way that we're putting in our 50% is being able to do the work and being able to trust ourselves in doing that work, right? Because then you're able to get into a place where, hey, I know what I'm doing and I trust myself in what I'm doing. And that's always going to lead you to a better outcome, right?
Say that one more time. That's like powerful.
Yes.
And we're going to reiterate that again and again. And no matter how long I'm here, we're going to reiterate that. So do you want to sing it again for the peeps?
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, what did I say?
I had a feeling. I was like, wait, I don't think he's going to remember about the power in trusting yourself. And the more you do it, you're built.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah.
Okay,
thank
do
you.
you remember that? Okay. I'm like, you said it more eloquently. So I'm going to let JP say it.
Like you're able to really find the power in yourself when you're able to like you said, slow down, take that moment of reflection, right? And be able to really measure where you are, right? But also in part of doing the work, it's trusting yourself in your abilities to be able to do that work. And then you come to a point where, hey, you're noticing that, maybe not in a day, maybe not in a week, but sure, at the end of the month, you're going to see that difference and you're going to see that growth.
You are.
And what do we draw from that? It's inspiration, right? It's encouragement.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So it's really neat to be able to experience that and to be at a point where you can take that and really redirect that energy into something positive.
I love that. Redirecting the energy.
Yes.
Redirecting the energy. Yes, because I think a lot of people and that's the thing is people can look at us saying this and be like, oh, that sounds nice for you. But it's like, no, I wanted to sound nice for you because I think if we don't do this work, nothing will change for you. But the thing here is that it's like, yeah, like you said, you're not going to see it in a day or a week, but a month from now, even 2 months, it's going to become this new way of living. Okay, a new way of living. It's and you will have the hindsight of being oh my God, that's how I was. Oh my goodness. I'm like, oh my goodness. But also be hey, you know what? That's for me. It's not about dismissing how you're living now. It's not that at all. Because when I look back, I'm listen, I think of the I do believe in that whole role self, true self thing.
Absolutely.
And that's why by owning your story, it goes hand in hand with really getting in touch with your true self and living that way. You can't hide from yourself. Truth will set you free always.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's about really just by taking hold of your life and being conscious like this. And I love what you're saying about measuring yourself. I love that because it's we don't realize we're going on and we're just we're going through our days. And it's just like we do with anything else in our lives with work and people, we also have to look at ourselves the same way and be how are we doing? Did that feel right? Should we try something else? Because if we ignore it over years, you'll keep putting the Band-Aids on.
Yes,
Keep
going
putting
back
on
to the Band-Aids.
Can you take
and
it from
that's
here?
it
What
is.
happens? What happens that you keep on putting the Band-Aids, and what's gonna happen?
Well, we are actually developing behaviors that will take us to the opposite end of where we're trying to reach, right? And it's kind of reversing. We're taking those couple steps forward to fix our situation in that moment, but we're taking a couple leaps back. And that's what we're trying to avoid, right?
Yeah.
And so I think
Yes.
another way to look at this is...
Because he's thriving, by the way. Like, he's
Thank you.
thriving, so this is not some... We want you to thrive. We want people to smile. We want people to be
Absolutely.
appreciative of every moment. Like, to know that you've... Sorry, I just have to be like, dude, like, the fact that you're like... I wake up and you're like, that's purpose. Like, that being in that state is like... There's no
stopping you, you know, there's no
stopping you.
It's, if anything, it's the start of your new success. It's the start of the new page. It's the start of the new chapter, right? Because we have it in us to make that difference. It's just a matter of, you know, finding the way to do it and what can we put into it, right?
Yes!
Like, I truly believe, like, we're all leaders, but we all lead in a different way. And so...
Say that again!
We're all leaders, and we all lead in a different way. So, you know, it's kind of about fitting not yourself to the subject, but fitting the subject to your life. And I think that alone changes the perspective a lot, right? And another thing, just to be kind of like, be kind to yourself. We often hear that. We heard it a lot through media. But, you know, I think to me what it means is I had a really good friend, and, you know, may she rest in power. But she taught me this concept, a Mayan concept. And it's rather a Mayan greeting. That says, in Lakesh Alakim.
Okay.
And what that means is, I am you and you are me. Ooh. And so when we think about people that way, when we think about ourselves that way.
Oh my God.
Right? Now you're able to really see, like, the work you're putting out is really,
each
it's
other
coming
too.
back.
And
Yes.
see one another.
Exactly. Like, you're able to recognize that outside of, you know, even, like you said, your identity of your sexual orientation, whatever it is, you're able to see the person, you're able to see their struggle, and you're able to see the human in that person. So there's your connection, right? That's a connection.
Man.
And so, I mean, that's a really
connection.
good place for us to also start the work, right? We get to this point. So that's huge.
That's huge. So the question is, because I always like to be like the devil's advocate, right? So for those who are struggling to see that, you know, when they say hurt people, and this idea of like people who are unable to, like, I like to think that, I mean, that's why that spoke to me, because I'm like, totally, like being gay for me has truly, I was using the word humbled. I think I still can use it for this, actually. That being gay really humbled me into being compassionate, open, and seeing people beyond what I was limited thinking that I had. It's opened me up.
Yes.
But had I not been gay, I mean, I don't think I would have been I hope I would be a good person and stuff, but I feel like being gay has, like, it's opened my world. Like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but let's just go with it. But
no, absolutely.
But I feel like, you know, I've come to terms with, you know, being the queer person in my family has its challenges. But then I'm like, you know what? My world has opened. And if I have to open this world for my family, then I will do it gladly. And also just like, I always used to think that, you know, being gay was this like limited thing, and and I'm coming to terms in a great way, celebration, is that it's opened my world.
Yes.
It has opened my heart.
Yes. And you know what? I love that you say that, and I just kind of want to rock with this for a second, but it was something that Riley taught me. Okay. And y'all have seen the interview with Riley. I love Riley, but it was something that he said that really touched my heart. And it was the idea that, you know, in the community, in the LGBT community, we often talk about coming out and the pressures of what that looks like and what that means to certain folks, right? And this notion of what it carries when we say it, like, it carries a certain feeling. And Riley showed me this concept of coming in. You're coming into your new life, into your new identity, and it just makes you feel much more at peace. It makes you feel like you're at home.
Oh man.
And it's just a really good place in your heart, right, where you're able to exude that energy back out. Like, you're always going to radiate it, right? What goes up must come down. What we put in must go out. And so that's also a really cool idea, right? So thank you, Riley.
It's so funny to hear that. Like, no, not funny. It's so full circle moment for me to hear that, because growing up for most of my young adult life, even as a kid, you know, because we all know when we're kids, let's be real, we all know we're gay.
That's right.
We all know we're, like, you know, and it's like to hear that is so uplifting and hopeful, because when you're young and you the whole world's telling you that you shouldn't be who you are, literally just who you are.
Right.
And to hear that, to be like, we were so afraid of coming out, right? Of like showing our colors, when it's like not what the only thing that ever really mattered was that the coming in. It's the being like, oh hey Jackie, that's you,
right?
What's up, like,
and like even the sense of like when you talk about coming in, it's much more of just acceptance, right? Because I feel like when we kind of talk about the idea of coming out, it almost alienates you, right? Like you're right, exactly.
It's the opposite. It's like, no, it's like, and it goes back to this idea of like, we're trying to make other people comfortable around us by the coming out, instead of like, wait, no, y'all, it should be the opposite. It's like, wait, how can I feel comfortable with who I am? And oh my God.
And my role in the society, in this community, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so this idea of coming in really, really changed it for me.
I like that.
And so, in terms of my
go
story,
Riley.
Right? Absolutely. Riley
like
is
that.
preaching.
Riley.
And I love
Go
that.
Check out his
But another cool thing is that during this time too, I started looking to a lot of mentors and a lot of people who were already kind of in the work of advocacy.
Yeah.
And why I did that was because, number one, I mean, you already talked about, those intersecting identities, but, and we're not going to go into why they're being politicized, but it's important to mention, right?
Yeah.
Because it creates a whole new set of problems.
Yeah.
And so finding folks who are already kind of going into that work and advocating for the community and finding solutions, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, that empowered me because you learn to think outside of the box, right? You're able to connect further and you're able to solve problems. And that's huge because if something comes up in your life, right, now you have the skill set to, okay, let's break this down. What can I do right now? What can I do later, right? So we don't worry about it and create that plan for yourself, right?
So you're like applying what you're learning through advocacy in your own life.
Oh, absolutely.
Basically, like,
absolutely.
yeah,
it goes very hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
Absolutely. And then I had a lot of teachers who were also influencing and making me feel comfortable with who I was. Oh. And they would help me pursue, that real JP that was in here, that truly JP.
Oh, and this truly JP is truly powerful. Yeah. We don't like to go too much into our personal stories, but we'll put some links and you can learn more about JP. And what you're seeing right now is somebody who is like all heart. And I love that you're, solution oriented, because, and how important that is to your, not just the problems outside of yourself, but it starts here. It's like, what are the solutions? How can I heal? How can I...
Exactly.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the healing?
Yeah, absolutely. And like the reason I was kind of just mentioning that as well is because it develops this sense of community, right? This sense of belonging, this sense of confidence, right? That you fit in. This is your community, right? And you are very much a part of that. And
I love that. You really make people feel like you made a speech the other day, and there's something about the way in which you communicate and speak to the community, where you feel like the belonging, like the thing from the other day, like or yesterday. It's like, and I feel like someone's speaking for you, someone's advocating for you.
You see yourself up there, right?
Yes. I see myself in you. And I think that's really powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Like
so
that,
keep
that
doing
deeply
it.
means a lot.
We need somebody who's that open compassion, the openness, the sense of community. Like I think, as Luis likes to say, Luis Gomez, community really. We have to underscore here. He loves to use the word underscore. I remember that. Let's underscore. How it underscores the importance of community, like really, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about this idea of not feeling alone.
Yes,
it's like we cannot isolate ourselves. Like we have to lean and we have to trust, and sure, there's gonna be people who maybe you shouldn't trust, but
it'll be a lesson nonetheless, right? People will come in and out of our lives, but I think what's also really important to mention is that. Once you're able to reach that point of, having that community, you already gain that confidence. How does that apply to your story, right? And the power of it, right? So let's come back to that.
Oh my God.
And so,
let's come back to it.
Kind of like a little checkpoint, right? On kind of like what we kind of have talked about, right? Is, we talked about how our struggles have played a role into shaping even our identity and figuring out, right, what it means for our identity and what it means for us to be that identity in this community, right? With this given
Yes.
environment, with these
Yes.
circumstances, and what
Yes.
that means and what that looks like. But also,
You talked about the people. Remember, it was at the very beginning.
oh
We're
yeah,
gonna really break it down.
coming back.
Remember how you were open to different people and you realized how much you can connect with people and
Yeah,
there's a space for
absolutely.
you
So it
and
was,
space of
you know, it
belonging.
was that yeah, about belonging and community, but it was also kind of like, oh my God, what?
I know.
It was just a lot to kind of, I wanted to come back to. Oh, the power of our story, right? So kind of bringing it back to that. And so, you know, we established already that, you know, you have that confidence. I'm kind of backtracking a little bit.
I like it. We
but
like it here.
We
yes.
were able to gain that confidence. We were able to recognize our struggles. We were able to see how our identity plays a role into this.
Okay.
And so now we begin kind of shaping, you know, this path of
Okay.
where it's going to take us, right? And for me, it was my friend Miriam who you know, taught me in La Kesha, Lakin. And so it was then that I was able to align my paths and see that intersection of, you're right. I am you and you are me, right? And as an immigrant identity, as a gay identity, I was able to see that intersectionality. And although there is struggle, right, there's a lot of beauty that comes from
Let's
it.
talk about the beauty.
Right?
Let's
And
talk
it's
about
like,
the beauty.
there's a song that I love that kind of talks about,
Oh,
like,
yeah?
we are those roses that grew from concrete, right? And so it's that full circle moment of, like you said, coming back, and, you know, it all starts with being open, with being vulnerable, and being honest, right? But it's, you know, I encourage everyone to take that first step and just seek that discomfort, because the moment you leave what you know, I guarantee not only will you learn something new,
Why don't you tell
but
me?
it'll
Come
make
on.
you
Why don't you
feel,
tell me, JP?
it will definitely make you feel like a brand new person.
It'll make you feel like the real you.
Exactly.
Because you were saying earlier about like that
Authentically
you, that real you that's bursting, waiting to come out.
Yes.
And that
yes.
is that. And I always think about like the little kids that we were. It's like there's a part of us that's like that has to somehow be sacrificed because of the world, the real world. But it's like no, there's this. And we're gonna talk to Kel about the inner child. So, but we can smoke a little bit of it right now.
I'm looking forward to that,
But,
actually,
yeah,
by the way.
I know. But it's like, yeah, like the more that we can take an active role in our behavior, our vulnerability, and really, it's kind of a weird concept, but really just like taking off the masks that we put on ourselves. And listen, I think I can only speak for myself because I'm in my mid-30s, so I'm in a different. That's why I'm like I'm curious to. This is my point of view. I want to hear what your point of view now, because you're in your early 20s, right?
Mid to
That's
late now this year.
That's pretty early. But so we have like a good 10 years apart from each other. And I think in my mid 30s, what I could tell you is that like, I'm not mad at myself, but I am definitely in this space of like, I'm ready to like peel the layers and really looking in. The work for me means really looking inward, looking at how what's gotten me here, and why is it that I got to a point last year where I was like, why am I not happy with some of the choices I've made?
Yes.
Right? Where I thought maybe what I
absolutely.
thought was making me happy, I'm like, no. And I'm proud of myself.
Yes.
Which I don't say very often.
Wait, say that again, because I mean,
I'm-
there's a lot of power in saying that and
Yes,
recognizing
there is.
ourselves.
So I'm proud of myself that I made a very hard decision last year to really look inward, take some risks on behalf of myself. Risks that would benefit only me, truly only me. Obviously, I have a partner who was supportive and all that stuff, and that's all great. But I've never really wholeheartedly done that, and it's
like you need to set your own foundation, right?
Yes, set my own foundation, and I didn't really understand the power of that, and that goes back to the power of owning your story, and I am really happy right now. Yes, it's uncomfortable sometimes. Yes, it's challenging. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's all great. No, there's hard, but I'm proud that I'm doing the work, that I'm committed, that I'm present. And from the day-to-day, from day to day, like I just feel more overall calmness and hope coming into myself in a way that I never have before. And that therapy helps.
So
Therapy
much.
helps a lot. And mindfulness helps a lot.
Mindfulness.
And I it's so funny, when I was in my 20s, I heard about mindfulness. It's not like a new thing, but I was in my 20s. And that's why I want to hear about you. So I'll end with this. Like in my 20s, but it goes back to like, I really was not in a place of really accepting myself truly, which is why I was doing the Band-Aids. I was working really hard, ignoring all the things that I was feeling that now I'm very clear. It's like, what happened to me with my rock bottom is like, my anxiety and depression was like right here. I'd wake up and I'd be like, and I'd be like, no, it's right here. And I was like, okay, fine, I give. You know, I give. Let's do this work. So that was what it was for me. Was my rock bottom was like, I cannot escape this, and I'm actually really happy and proud that I look about it. That's pretty cool that me was like, you know what? I'm not going to escape this anymore.
Yeah, you found it.
I found it.
Yourself
I don't know how I did it.
Change, right?
But
I think it's really important to reflect on, what you said. You had that depression and that anxiety in your face, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a very good tip that we can also give to everyone watching is that when you get to a point where you're reaching a tough decision, when you have to make that hard choice, is always consider the alternative, right? If you hadn't, what would that have looked like? Right? Would you have really reached this point to where you are now?
No, absolutely not.
But also in terms of finding your success through that journey, one of the things that I kind of see and I love about you, Jackie, is that you're very you're very intentional about being present in spaces, right? And it's not just, coming in once, but it's that repetition, right? You've established yourself now. You're growing roots where you are. And even that alone, you're able to water yourself with the connections that you're building, right?
It is true. I
see that success and I see the work that you're putting in and I'm extremely proud of you. And that just moment right there where you kind of this coming of age moment right now that we just experienced with you is huge. It's huge. But that's also too, like you talked about with Riley, right? It's age is a construct, right? And when you think about that, the fact that you were able to come to this point, regardless of what period of time you were in, I'm excited to see what the Jackie tomorrow will look like as a result of it.
Oh, damn. Well, I mean, thank you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you. You're the kind of person that this Jackie wants to be around and wants to support and wants to be present with. And I'm excited for your today, your tomorrow. And so the question goes back to you, JP. What's going on with you? What was your story what was your version?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think now I'm in a place where, the power of my struggles and everything I went through, aligning my identity to where I want to be.
Okay.
It's now put me in a place where I can speak to other folks, and it genuinely humbles me even to this day that the fact that people want to hear my story.
Why? Are you serious?
No, it genuinely does.
Why?
I even told you coming here today, I was so nervous. I couldn't sleep.
It's so cute.
But it's because,
Why?
I genuinely sometimes as humans, we're very hard on ourselves.
Yes.
So, we sit there and think, and it's totally okay to think about, hey, maybe I'm not good enough. Hey, maybe what is it that they want to hear? What is it that I have to offer? And it's okay to reflect that way, but it's that process that we go through, right? And so now seeing folks are inviting me to come and speak and provide these words of inspiration, it's humbling, but it's also a whole brand new experience that I've never had in my life before, right? So it's putting me in a new place, and it's a new JP, and it's something I want to share with everyone, someone I want to share with everyone.
Well,
so
then
thank you for having me.
Well, then we're going to practice something for you. The reason why I'm like, what? That's crazy, because for me, I'm like, I know it's so funny because for me, I'm like, I hope he has a good experience. I hope it's worth it for him because I admire you. And I'm like, isn't that funny how we're both thinking opposite? It's and I think that goes to show that listen, let's take just like what I just did. Why don't we give you a minute right now?
No, and that's huge. Actually,
you're proud.
Yes.
Yeah, you say it. Yeah, let's go.
I like that. You know what?
Let's go. Let's give it.
I am the real, authentic, genuine JP, and I am so freaking proud of myself. I am so proud of everything. I am so proud of everything I've been through, right? That has really shaped me to this day. And I don't regret anything I have been through. Struggles, successes. I am here today because of that. And I am looking forward to sharing myself with everyone and really sharing that story, right? Because it's impactful and it makes a difference. And we see those ripples in our community. Mm-hmm. And so if I can make someone smile even today, that to me will bring me a lifetime of happiness. And that's how we connect. We connect through our struggles and we're able to uplift each other. Yeah. And it's something that even you said with Anna here today, right? It's when you help me, I help you. Yeah. It applies to both of us, right? But that also applies to the community. Yes. So when we help each other, we're helping our community. When we uplift each other, we're uplifting the community, right? And vice versa. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams and goals. They will happen. If you need to talk to someone, reach out because once you get started with that work, I guarantee you, you will never look back the same way. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. I'm so proud that you acknowledge your accomplishment. I think it's important to uplift, support, and I'm going off another tangent, but I think it's irrelevant, so let's not. So I think I'm getting a little emotional here. Okay. I'm like, you and Luis, what the fudge is going on, you guys?
I love this. I love seeing this side too, because you're experiencing emotions, right? That either you're kind of reflecting on yourself, right? You're beginning at that point of understanding, okay, who is this Jackie that I am today?
Yeah.
And what am I going to do today that's going to make my tomorrow better?
Yeah.
And so I'm already seeing that. And it's those little thoughts, right? How can we improve our day? How can we make ourselves happy in those moments, like Luis says? And it's very much true.
I'm also just really proud of you, dude. Like,
thank you.
For me, it's like this space, this experience, like getting to talk to people, it's like, this is like what lights me up. It's like, and to see people like you who are just like, todo corazón, like wanting to help the community. Eso es like, es un don.
Gracias.
Es un don. Thank you. And I think like, I'm really proud of you. It's really cool. And it's like to see somebody at your age, like I love it. Like I'm all about this Gen Z. This Gen Z is like, I may not understand everything they say, like the slang, the what is it, the slang, because that's where Anna comes in and helps me with that stuff. But I'm just really, I'm drawn to the younger folks, because I think. It is so funny. For a long time, I thought I was drawn. I mean, I'm drawn to older folks too, as mentors and stuff. But now I'm coming into this interesting space where I'm not middle aged yet, okay? But I like this time. It's kind of like I get to appreciate like what folks have taught me, but I'm also appreciating what the youth is like teaching me, and it makes me happy that folks are going to therapy earlier in life, they're processing their stuff earlier, because let me tell you, like and people have said this online, so this is not original, but it's like we are responsible for our own healing. Like we are. Unfortunately, there are some folks who have experienced more inequities and stuff than other people. But how can we help people, uplift people, so they can heal and reflect? Like, because listen, the truth will set you free, and the truth will knock you down, and the truth will be like this. But there's always room for growth and moving forward, and not letting the failures or the mistakes hold you back. You just go, okay. And it's so funny on this journey as being an entrepreneur. At the beginning of the year, I was like, holy moly! Like I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and it was stressing me out. This pressure that I was putting on myself. And then what I realized?
What was it? Tell us.
I think I may have already said it in a video. I don't know. I can't keep track. But you know what I realized? And I hope this applies to anything. Honestly, it's like it doesn't matter if I succeed or fail. No, because the point is not either. The point is like I'm living the way I choose to.
Exactly.
I'm putting 100% of myself, and the universe will direct me wherever it is. And so now the weight has been lifted.
And that's the beauty in life, right? Is that you're able to take the moments, and you get to decide what was the influence that was, bestowed upon your life to be able to say, this is the power of my story, right? And so, you get to determine that. And so when you put in that work,
a ver, right? It's like, ahí lo dejo. But I know, I feel good about what I did,
Absolutely.
I know I did good. And I'm like, so that's what I'm starting to really realize. It's that whole self-validation thing, right?
It's having to take that step, that risk, right? That uncomfortable step, right? But it's something that you have been taking. And now, even as you talk here openly about being vulnerable, right? And what that looked like. Mm-hmm. So I think, the first thing is always be honest with ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see where we're at. Let's reflect on, who we are and what we stand for, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's beyond honesty, let's be open. Mm-hmm. Let's talk to somebody. Find that connection. Oh. Be vulnerable. Share. We've connected so deeply here today, Jackie.
I know
that
I'm
even
like,
in the time that I've known you, I don't think we've ever connected this deep.
But I knew it was there. Like,
No, absolutely.
We were like cafecito, the music, like it was just waiting. It was like bubbling up, you know.
We were building it up.
We were building it up, and like the fact I told you this, like you saw my videos, like it was very vulnerable for me to just start doing those coffee chats by myself, which I'll still do. Don't worry, I'll still come back. But the fact that like you, even just one person, if it was just you, that was like this resonated with me. I'm like, like that feeling of not feeling alone, and that's part of it is like, and it's so funny you mentioned the being open and leaning on a community. Like another thing of this like epiphany that I had about success and failure is like I started to lean in on like who I am, and who I am is like I do have a kind heart and I do like people and I do want to connect with people. So I was like, I'm just gonna lead with that, and I've been doing that, and it's been so exciting and wonderful.
You were able to see your passion, right?
Yeah.
Your new goals. You're able to set these new experiences for yourself that you really want to go through.
Yes.
But I think something that you really talk about and you really touch on is the fact that this life is a journey, and we can do everything in our power, and we have the opportunity to do everything in our power to make the best of it. So why shouldn't we?
Why shouldn't we?
What's the alternative in that situation,
yeah.
right? What is there to lose? Like, you have nothing to lose, but in fact, you have everything to gain. And so I challenge you all to just take that first step and let us know how it goes.
Yes. It just takes like literally one step. That's it. Like, do one thing different today. That's it. Literally.
Exactly.
It like throws you off and you're like, wait, like, and I'm being serious. Even like, I don't know, like drink almond milk instead of regular milk. Like little things.
Like I know that made my stomach happy. I mean, that was the right decision.
Pero mira, one of the big things that I want to make sure that we tap into today is, you can see he's thriving, this man right here, okay? So I think a lot of folks, and that's why I really make this content, because it's like, there were times last year where I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know. But then I would see stuff, and so it's like, how can we discuss this idea of truly putting in the work? Because you said right now, like it takes one step, and it does. But we might have to take a little deeper in that, because what comes to mind is, my therapist has told me, a lot of the times we self-sabotage.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're already like, no, not gonna happen. I'm not gonna take the step. Like, it's not gonna work out. I'm like, whoa, let's unpack that. Like, what is that mindset all about?
No, absolutely. And that's huge. And honestly, I think the best way, again, I'm a very visual person. So, what I think of is, when you look at the Netflix catalog, there is so much to pick from.
Yes.
Right? But you're the one who has to put in the work of finding what is interesting to you. What is going to make you happy? What themes are you looking for? What kind of action or love or comedy are you looking for? Because those are the little things that are making us happy. And again, we're focusing on that instance in that, that speck of time and space, and that's huge, because how we talked about just waking up that day is already purpose, right? So let's think about this existential universe, right? Never ending universe, right? And it's like, think about the fact that we woke up with purpose. We woke up today, and like, what are we going to do? How are we going to choose ourselves today? How are we going to place ourselves first? And it starts with that step of putting in that work to be intentional of, hey, what's going to bring you happiness? Because those little moments are going to add up. Just like that, all those pennies add up to that dollar, and those dollars add up to bill, we're going to get to that 6-figure number, right? And this is the same thing with your happiness, right? When you identify those moments, you're able to reach a point where you're, okay, maybe today's a day I want to take that step, right? It's finally come. Just like on Netflix, sometimes you see a movie or a show and you're kind of like,
that's such a great
I'm not doing it today.
Yeah, I'm not doing that today.
and it takes you maybe 2-3 times to go into, and you're kind of like, okay, now I can sit through and really focus and be present through this episode or this movie, and you start to realize, this is it. This is my jam, right?
I love that analogy.
Right. And it's like something I would share with y'all too is I have this little rule with my nephew, and he's 10 years old now, but we call it the bro rule because, hermanos.
Okay.
And it's, you can't say you don't like something until you try it. And while it kind of specifically, we kind of focus on food, right? Because he's really picky. I think it's something that you can take on to the rest of your life, right? Yeah. And it's that step. How can we encourage you to take that step? And I think, it's, watch that preview for that movie. See if you like it.
Love that.
Try that new experience and see if it's something that brings you happiness.
I love that.
Right?
I think that there's we're trying to figure out. There was something that we said on our phone conversation, and we're trying to like decipher it because it sounds intriguing. So we're gonna let's try to figure it out.
No,
Why not?
absolutely.
Okay, so in the notes it said like wasn't processing the same way. So I'm just gonna try and maybe it'll come to you. But I think for me, when things are not like processing the same way, I notice a shift in myself in my late 20s, early 30s, right? Which I think is natural. You're evolving and whatnot. But I was realizing that like for me, there were certain things that used to be very important to me or priority, like my work identity was like a big thing. But things were just not computing, I guess, in the same way. And I think that led to my rock bottom, was realizing that the things that once were important to me, I realized suddenly weren't anymore. And I felt a sense of a loss and a sense of being lost. And that's, I think, what induced the depression and anxiety, was like, wait, these are the things that like, well, it's funny because now I think about it, like, not necessarily that those were I mean, they did keep me happy, but those were also my Band-Aids.
Oh.
And now these Band-Aids were like, you know how when Band-Aids just aren't working anymore and they kind of fall off?
Right.
You know,
no,
the
absolutely.
feeling
They're
of
kind of like dangling.
They're kind of dangling.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like they were all dangling off, and then they were all off, and it was like, and that's when the anxiety and depression just came like right here. And that's when I realized like, okay, I'm gonna have to find another way. And so I think for anybody out there who's like, it's okay if you need to find another way. Okay?
Absolutely. And
like,
what? I'm like,
that?
and it rhymes. That was cute.
And it rhymes, right? Ooh. Yeah, because I think we're so afraid of that change, but it's like, sometimes you just have to surrender, and one of my old bosses used to tell me, you have to run towards the pain sometimes.
And there's something you said there too. Okay, so, do these feelings also come from a place knowing that we're scared of change, right? And we're anticipating it, but we don't know how it's going to affect us or what it's going to look like.
Yes.
Right? And so I think when we talk about processing, damn, now there goes my train of thought.
Yeah.
It was just really good.
Processing change, when you're processing change.
Processing change, right? So you're stepping into this new identity, this
Yes.
place of recognition,
Yes.
this place of reflection, right?
Yes.
And you're able to better identify, okay, well, this hasn't worked for me. And now I'm able to realize, hey, number one, these were Band-Aids, right? This is your coming of age moment where you realize, okay, what I've done isn't working.
Yeah.
So I think one of the big things,
it's only led me to this point. When you're like, look, the bus stop is here, right?
Right.
It's
But
almost
your
like
destination
that.
is like,
yeah. And I felt, it's almost like I felt like I got out of the bus and I was like, wait, like I've traveled this far and I'm in a desert and I don't know what to do. Like,
right, exactly.
I literally was like, what? I have
and so
my
that brings uncertainty,
computer,
right? Like, that's scary.
Yeah.
And I remember even like, with some of the experiences that I went through and some of those struggles, I received just being open again to advice, right? And just different people's experiences and their wisdom. And I remember there was a coworker I had at a few jobs ago, and very, very wise words that live on with me to this day. And it was, I was experiencing what it meant to come out, right? And anticipating a response and what that was going to look like. And so what I was able to do, and the advice I received was, hey, we understand that change is coming, right? We just don't know which way it's gonna go. So here's what we can do to kind of anticipate that and be prepared for that. And it was something as easy as getting 2 different colored pens. And with one pen, you would write down what you hope to expect, what you hope to happen, how you want it to happen, ways that you can respond, right? And then in red or whatever other color, you can write down what you anticipate, the response will be, whether, in my case, it was coming out. So it was anticipating a response from my family and friends. And so in one, I would kind of talk about, okay, I'm scared of this and I'm scared of that. And I was being open with myself, right, about those fears. But then also once I came in with that red pen and realized, okay, this is how I know that they'll actually react, or this is the actual response, right? It kind of centered me. It grounded me, right? To understand, okay, well, maybe I just needed to kind of vocalize that to hear myself, right? And kind of obtain that new perspective and be like, okay, now I know what I need to do.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's that change and it's coming in. And you're coming in hot.
Well, I think also by doing that, it's the whole being honest with yourself and not I mean, I think a lot of us fear things, and obviously that I understand, understandably so, that what you coming out was scary for sure. But I think, you know, you faced it, and you can run from everyone, but you can't run from yourself, right? So that's part of it. And it's so funny, we're sitting here and I'm looking at you and I'm just like, there was a time where I felt so alone with this intersectionality of being, you know, being Latina, being gay, having parents who were of different generation, Catholic, and being like, what is my life gonna be? And I don't know, I'm just sitting here looking at you and I'm just like, I'm not alone. Like, and it's that we can share this space together, and it's like, you get it. And I felt the same with Elise. I'm like, you get it. Like, you get it. And it's cool to feel like there's someone who gets it. Because my family, I love them, but they'll never understand that unique experience.
Exactly.
They just won't. Exactly. So there are people who will.
We're here for you, Jackie. Like, we genuinely are. And know that, like, everyone watching, you have someone who's rooting for you. And I think that was something that also, like, just recently began occurring in my life, where those people who were silently rooting for me became more intentional and active about their support, right? And being more vocal about that. And so listening to someone say, I believe in you. I know what you're doing is tough, but you're going to make it, and it's going to be okay, right?
Yes!
You need that.
Yeah.
And for those at home, like, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to talk about what you're going through, because it's a form of processing, right? That's not our end goal, to just experience that and understand that we're going through something. But our end goal is, how can we fix it? How can we empower ourselves with the tools that we need to be successful?
Yes.
And so that's something I actually think about every day before I leave my home, even to work or for whatever it is. I'm like, do I have everything I need to be successful today? And that's a form of, for me to check myself in before we even start the day.
Oh, I like that.
Right? Because if something's off, you're able to tailor it, fix it, so you have that good day, right? So you're being super intentional, like Lee says, right? And it's something that has been instilled in my mind, because I think it's extremely true, is be intentional, be active, and be at the forefront of your happiness.
Oh my God. And guess what? You just asked yourself that. Which I know it's a small thing, but I think it's a huge thing for you to literally be like, what do I need to be successful? What do I need? Blah, blah, blah. And I think the more that we can look inward in the morning, and then when we start our day and be like, or throughout the day, like, I find myself being like, are you tired, Jackie? I'm like, yeah, I'm tired. You know? Or like, absolutely. Jackie, what do you think of that? I'm like, oh, girl, I'm like, that's great. And it's funny. Like, I don't think I've posted this yet, but I guess I'll share it with this small thing now. I don't think I have posted this video. Sneak peek. I filmed it last year. I've been afraid to show it. So you tell me what you think. But I used to, when I was like very young, like 9, 10, I used to like create stories in my head. And I would walk from school. I wouldn't have anybody to walk back to home with. So when I would walk, I would tell these stories, or I would talk to myself. I actually had a really good relationship with myself.
Absolutely.
Which, looking back, I'm like, holy moly, like. But I was so embarrassed. So what happened one day was somebody from across the street, a kid, saw me and saw that I was moving my lips and nobody was around. And he's like, who are you calling? Who are you talking to? You like, you loser or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, like. And then I think slowly started to like change, right? Or be the role
to
self,
hide that part of yourself.
That side of myself.
Absolutely. And
now I'm like, I don't care. Like, that is like, I miss that relationship with myself. And like, yesterday I walked my dog and I was like that was pretty cool, Jackie. Like, I was like getting really in touch with myself, and I'm like, and I don't care if someone sees me and they think whatever they want to think.
Absolutely, you're
but
living your authentic life.
I've never really told anybody this.
I genuinely challenge you
to. What do you think? Anna knows. Anna knows my quirkiness. But do you think that's strange?
No, I think that's incredible, because to start off with, I don't think a lot of people are very connected to their inner voice to begin with. So the fact that you, at a very young age, were able to connect and realize that, hey, I'm kind of my best friend right now, like, that's completely awesome, and that's powerful. Okay. But at the same time, I would challenge you to think about, like, now as an adult, what were those stories? What were the themes in those stories that you were telling yourself? Right? Was it something that was coming from a place of fear? Was it something that was coming from a place of change? Was it a place of safety? Right? Like, where were these stories coming from? Or was that your happiness at that time? Right? But at the end of the day, it was your story that you were creating for yourself. And that's the power, because that's what got you through, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah. So that's I think that's my biggest challenge to you, is to reflect on that, even as a child, right? And you're going to talk about that, healing your inner child, but, we can also talk about that work and identifying those places, even as children, right?
Oh, I love that. I guess maybe, again, a good tip for Kel, for my conversation with Kel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. I love that. Well, thank you for letting me be vulnerable with you, because I think in that I'm really trying hard to just be like, hey, this is what it is, and I'm gonna unapologetically, right? Just like, but it's that relationship with yourself that is, cada día me doy más cuenta, like every day I'm just like, oh yeah, like, it's the foundation. It's like, it's the foundation to everything you do, the people you interact with, the way you live. It's like, it's harnessing you, and then you let the world in, right? Right.
And I mean, it's something that we hear a lot about too, when you even think about relationships, right? You're kind of like, well, how can I take care of another person if I don't take care of myself first?
Right? And it's such a simple thing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, people are like, well, yeah, but it's like, no, I don't think you understand what it really means to have a relationship with yourself. It means that you are intentionally waking up in the morning and asking yourself, what do I need to succeed? A lot of us are like, oh, what does this person know? No. If you have kids, a dog, work, no. You.
Yes.
And the more you do it, it's like any relationship. You built this relationship. You built trust. It's a whole thing.
It's a process.
It's a process. But
you'll notice too how the questions will begin to change.
Oh, okay.
Right. So you go from, what do I need to be successful, to what do I need to be happy, to what do I need to get my dreams to become a reality, right? So these questions become bigger and bigger and bigger in each step of that motivation that you're getting at each stage, right? Why? Because again, we're being present in that moment, and we're being ourselves freely, unconditionally.
Oh my
right?
God. And I feel that it resonates with me so much, because I feel like this last year was like small, and now I'm like,
now you're getting momentum, right?
Momentum with my dreams, and being like, okay, no, like, this is what you want to do. This is like, you're committed. You got this. And yeah,
But it's also important to say that even now at this point where we feel that momentum and these steps becoming leaps, it's also a part of the process, right? Where we don't stop doing that work. We don't stop having those moments of reflection. And it's an ongoing journey.
It is.
But the fact is, it is a journey. So, we have to find the happiness in that.
Well, right? What did Riley say? He's like, I think the biggest thing I took away from Riley's thing was like this idea of like, and I found comfort in this, is like, this is what it is for now.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's like, yeah, that's life. Like, here we are right now. For now, like, this is, like, it's like, you don't know what's gonna happen, right? But there's a comfort in knowing, like, by being just like, it's okay for now. That's fine. Like, así es. Like, and I mean, I think as the older you get, the more you really feel it. I'm sure, like, as you get even older than me, you really feel the sense of like, mortality. And so it's like feeling like, okay, this is for now. I'm like, okay, it really, I don't know. For me, it allows this, it's liberating, because it's like, yeah, like, it makes me feel like I'm okay with this moment with you right now.
That's
like,
huge. And that's something I think you also touched on with Luis, right? Where it's like, we're all going to die at some point. But I think the important thing is to, in that moment, to realize not only are we going to die, but are we scared of death, or are we scared of living?
Oh my God. Go deeper. Let's go.
And is finding yourself going to influence that decision?
Keep going.
Will the power of your story then influence your purpose, your dreams, your goals? Who will you become? So I challenge you all.
Yeah, what's the challenge
to be
today?
your best self that you could be today.
And
I promise you that tomorrow, that is going to look different. Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, because I think, yes, be the best that you can be. But being the best doesn't mean this, like, enormous thing. Can you break that down? Can you say it one more time? Because being the best, people are like, well, do I have to? No, it doesn't mean you have to do this grandiose thing.
Right. No, exactly.
So
And I go back to that question, right, of what is it that I need today to be successful?
Yeah.
Because I know oftentimes we're so busy, like you said, we're on this hamster wheel just going and going, that even in the mornings we're like, okay, I got to get ready, go to work. And that's it. But we're not thinking about, okay, well, how can I slow it down a little bit?
So what does the best look like for you then? Let's do it that way.
What does the best look like for me?
Yeah, what does it, so as we're telling people, be the best you are today, what does that look like for you?
Okay, so for today, I wore this at my recent speech, but it's because it's bringing me a lot of happiness.
Me too.
Like, I love the colors, like,
the material.
it kind of goes with the little
It
cafecito,
does? You see this matchy match? Thank you, La Casa Libre, for this shirt. Casa Libre.
So I think for me, it was really like, I wanted to put myself out there today, right? I wanted to, number one, be in a space where I can be vulnerable, right? And then also wear something that's bringing me happiness, because it's something small. But these little things are adding up for me today, where I haven't even started, work, and I'm already like, what are we gonna do? Right? Like, the day's like almost over already. It almost feels
Friday.
like, yeah, exactly. So it's those little influxes of energy where you like, what's next?
I love that.
What's the next thing?
I love that.
Maybe later today I won't feel this way, but right now I do. So how can I make the fullest of this moment?
I like that. I love that.
Yeah, okay. So that's what brings me happiness today. So what's bringing you happiness? Tell me.
I think the way I can bring my best self, bring my best self to the plate today is, just like, I know it sounds cheesy, but just like gratitude. Like, I just feel so grateful that I have the opportunity to even do this with you, that you even wanted to do this. I'm just already so happy with the conversation we've had. I'm like, because this is fun. For me, it's like, I'm also learning. Like,
absolutely.
Because I'm in the thick of it. So this to me is like, heck yeah. And just the shirt thing, of course, as well. I was like, what am I going to wear? Like, how can I make these moments, like, how do you, like, just lift these little moments, Like, and I feel like, okay, what shirt can I wear? And just, I think it just comes back to, like, for me every day, it's like, what can I be grateful for? And it's not these big things. Like, it's the little things. It's like I know you're saying, like, today, like, maybe you're not going to feel this level of excitement throughout the rest of your day.
Right.
But I'm like, I know that, like, we're already starting our day off, like, I don't know.
On a really good note.
On a really good note, and just grateful, because I know, like, a few hours from now, I'm going to look back and be like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like,
absolutely. So awesome. In closing, as we kind of close this conversation, there is a musical, In the Heights, one of my favorite songs of all time, but it's also a song that derived from, a part of a little struggle during the musical where a character, Abuela Claudia, passes away.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But the reason I say that is because, throughout this song, they really portray the message that Abuela Claudia was about. And she would say things like alabanza. And if you don't know what alabanza means, and they say it in their song, it means to raise these things to God's face and quite literally say, like, praise to this. Like, I am thankful for this. Because whether it brought me happiness or it got me one step closer to my goal, this is what I needed today. Right? And sometimes we take those things for granted.
Oh my gosh.
So when we talk about the power of our story, right? How is it powerful? Right? Where does this come? So now that we understand what our story is, what makes up our story and how it makes us feel in terms of our identity as well, where does that power come? So by you doing the work, and now being in a place where we're taking those big leaps as we are now, you with your with the coffee chats and higher ellas and everything going on, right? And so now that we're at this point, your energy really vibrates and it translates into the community. And by you having that positive energy, being at a good point in your life, even your energy is the invitation for people to come into your space and feel that safety right away. Because you're a safe individual, there's a safe space, and I know that I can wear my heart on my sleeve for you. And that's the vulnerability.
And I'm going to throw it right back at you. You exude the same thing. Because you've done this work. People are coming to you, not just me. Follow the link, you'll learn more about JP. But you are also opening that space for larger communities, for real world issues. So you're like, that change is going to be awesome. So, and when I met you, I felt the same way. And it's so funny because I met you when I was not in a good place mentally.
No way. See, I never
and you would have never noticed it. Yeah, I covered it quite well because you know why? And is because I think because I think there was a part of me that was really me, you know,
Absolutely.
that wanted to be like, I fought really hard to be like, I'm not gonna let my personal stuff, my mental stuff, like change what is important to me from a fundamental level, which is like people, like meeting you all, like with everyone. Like for me, that was, I fought really hard to make sure that wouldn't crumble. And so I guess I'm proud of myself in that respect. But back to you, is that when I met you, I was like, oh man, like I felt so comfortable. I felt like so like that I could be open and vulnerable with you, and that I could turn to you for support or, you know, or a real connection. And so I think I'm really proud of you that you've done the work already at your age. I don't want to be like an ageist or anything like that. Why I say the age thing is because it's more of like, I'm just really genuinely happy for you because now you don't have 10 years of you, you know, putting Band-Aids on. Now you like already, like you're closer to the real you and having people see that in you, but also the relationship you have with yourself, that you already have that sort of closeness, which is so powerful. It's so freeing and it's so joyful.
It's liberating,
right?
And I think that's the goal at the end of the day for everyone is that we want you to get to be the real you as soon as you can, as soon as possible.
Can. It doesn't matter what age.
Exactly.
21, 35, 40, 50, 60, 80, 90, 100, whatever. Because it's a construct. As long as like in this moment, right? You are like, you're doing what you can to be you. It's liberating.
Exactly. Yes. There's freedom. There's liberation. There's acceptance. There's love. And we're here for that. And we want that. And we're also here to give that.
Yes. Because let me tell you, there's no other JP like this guy right here. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
And that is the power of the story, is that that's celebrating how unique you are. And I think it's an amazing thing. And to that I say, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Do you want to sing a little Selena before we go?
Oh my God. No, I'm nervous. Putting me on the spot.
A ver. We'll use...
Como la flor. Just kidding.
I'll join you. How about
De
that?
tanto amor me diste tú. Se marchito. Oh, yeah. I was like, wait, I forgot the lyrics. Yeah. Yo sé perder. Pero